Hello, my name is Ashley Sher. I'm the founder and CEO of ShareLove.Fund. Today we're going to explore Chapter 2, verse number 66 of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2, verse 66 reads as follows. Neither is there wisdom nor meditation in an always changing mind. Without a meditative, one-pointed mind, there is no peace. And without peace of mind, how can anyone be happy? We can understand this as follows. Without peace, how can you find happiness? These slokas speak of the person of discrimination. In that discriminative knowledge, you get the right understanding, which makes the mind profound. Without that profundity, not profanity, that's a different word, profundity, just seeing if you're listening. Without that profundity, there's no peace. And when there's no peace, there's no happiness. We are all looking for happiness, but unfortunately, we're not all looking in the right place for it. And by right place, I mean the right place for you. I don't have the answers, and actually nobody does. Reviewing this ancient scripture is not to indoctrinate you into this ancient scripture. It's just that, like, sometimes when scripture has survived for thousands of years, there is a universal truth to it that has resonated, and that's why people have gone through the trouble of preserving it. And so I invite you to explore the scripture with me as a way to stimulate your own creative thought process and evoke your own sense of critical thinking. We look outside of ourselves for answers. There's an expression that says that the mindset that created a problem cannot be the mindset that solves a problem. So that's why exchanging ideas with others can help us solve our own problems. We weren't made to be hermits. Humans were made to be social beings. There's actually studies on why people feel lonely, and loneliness, it is believed, was actually a defense mechanism. Because basically, back in the day, we didn't have grocery stores and frozen food. So in order to survive, you needed, like the men to be hunters and the women to prepare the food and take care of the children and so forth. Girls from age 7 to 12, before they menstruated and were able to have children, were actually really great workers in the household. They say age 7 is the age of reason. So the way we sort of evolved to have this period of youth from age 7 to 12 is that communities really depended on 7 to 12-year-olds to do jobs to help the others before they had their own responsibilities of their own children. So we were meant to collaborate and exchange ideas from each other. Sometimes when we need help, we need to seek the help of others. In the Christian Bible, there's a passage that says that we are meant to carry our loads, but we are not meant to individually carry our boulders. That when we have a boulder to carry, we're supposed to seek the help of others. And imagine that in a literal context. If someone went around trying to pick up a boulder, then they would break their back, and actually then they would be a burden on society because they'd be crippled and unable to work. So sometimes you need to pull up your bootstraps and be self-reliant. But sometimes when you have a problem, you need to go outside of yourself for a new information source, because of this adage that says that the mindset that created a problem is probably not the mindset that's able to fix it. And the cool thing is that, like, we're constantly evolving. While it might be frustrating that we live in an ever-changing world and that nothing is a constant, it's also a pretty cool thing, because it means that you can continually self-improve. The very fact that we're looking outside if we're looking outside too much for external validation, that can disturb the mind. But if we realize that happiness is reflected in a tranquil mind, then we won't disturb our minds even to chase happiness. That we know it's always within us. So I think that it's important distinction between when we go out externally to stimulate our own creativity and our own inspiration versus going out externally for the validation of others. As long as you remember that seriously nobody knows better than you, then you can go out and get advice of others without being derailed. One of the things that I thought was really interesting is Mother Teresa, in her own diary, she wrote that she believed that God had left her and that God had abandoned her. So even she wasn't happy-go-lucky every second. Everybody's fighting their own battle. So get ideas from other people, but don't let that doubt yourself, because everybody is struggling in their own way. Modern psychologists talk about imposter syndrome, where people that are incredibly successful actually feel like a fraud and a fake, that people will discover that they're not really that smart, or that they didn't deserve the accolades that they got. So just like always really trust yourself. We're all just people trying to figure it out. But in trusting yourself, don't isolate yourself. We could look at this on a macro level with, countries like the isolation of China didn't really help it in trade, like 200 years ago and things like this. So it's a balance, and there is no perfect recipe, because the recipe constantly changes on your needs at that moment. And that's sort of the hard part, but the super cool dynamic part of life that keeps us on our toes. May the light in me be the light in you. Have a blessed day. Namaste.